All right, I don't know about you, but I was glued to the first presidential debate of 2012. Mitt Romney, Barack Obama. Barack Obama had everything to lose. Mitt Romney had everything to win. So how did they go? Well, polls indicated this is exactly how they went, and it was a surprise. The polls indicate that 67% of people thought that Romney well and truly won the debate. 25% thought that Obama won the debate. Now, those were polls conducted not in Australia, of course, but in the United States. Dr. David Smith, US Politics and Foreign Policy Lecturer at the University of Sydney in the US Studies Centre, joins me now. David, thank you for your time this morning.
Thanks for having me.
It's fantastic theatre. These debates are brilliant, aren't they?
They are, and they're one of the few opportunities that Americans really get to see politicians actually debating each other. The US doesn't have our parliamentary system where there's question time or anything like that, so you very rarely see this, and this is why the first debate is the highest rating political event for 4 years.
Now, the first debate is particularly important for the challenger, isn't it? Because the mere fact that the challenger is placed on the same stage as the president inflates the challenger.
That's right, and this would have been the first time that a lot of people had even really seen Mitt Romney, let alone on the same stage as Barack Obama. So yeah, it's very important for the challenger to make an impression.
Let's talk about them individually. First of all, we'll talk about Barack Obama. He did have everything to lose. People going into it, the polls were absolutely on his side. He'll wipe the floor with Romney, and he didn't. To me, it looked like he was suffering very much from two things. One, a man who was terrified to put a foot wrong and knew that he could only lose. And two, a man who, for the last 4 years, has only used auto cue.
Yeah, he really looked like he didn't want to be there. And he was actually a good debater 4 years ago. But this time, I think that you're right. I think that he had been advised not to come across as arrogant or condescending or snarky or smug, and he was thinking about everything, even very simple things, a lot before he was saying anything. And he avoided making any serious mistakes, any gaffes, any bad sound bites that the media will recycle for days on end. But he just came across as kind of tired, exhausted, looking like he'd been doing a really hard job for the last 4 years.
And some of the key things the Democrats have been attacking Romney on, indeed some of the key things Obama had been attacking Romney on, Obama didn't even bring them up.
No, they didn't get mentioned at all. It was like he really didn't want to look uncivil.
Yeah.
Now, when they retire from the podium and the attack ads start to show in Ohio and Florida again, it'll be as uncivil as it gets. But in that debate, he and also Romney really didn't want to appear to be too angry, uncivil, condescending.
Yeah, absolutely. And for Romney, that really worked in his favour because he came across actually in quite a presidential stance, as opposed to the way he can quite often come across. I thought he did a brilliant job, actually, although he did say some things which didn't quite make sense. He uses the term small business a lot, and yet he never actually defined what in his mind a small business was.
No, and this became quite a source of argument in that debate. The problem with those kinds of arguments is it's very difficult for people to follow. Like, how do we really know what should be classified as a small business?
So it is very hard to score a point against him because people lose the will to live during your argument.
It is, and there were a few moments like that yesterday when both of them were coming at each other with two different sets of numbers that various think tanks had come up with, probably derived from different accounting tricks. And especially in the first 15 minutes, it actually really got bogged down in competing sets of numbers. And this would have been pretty difficult for people to follow. It was hard enough for me to follow, and I study it for a living. So for people who are tuning into it for the first time, that could have been pretty bewildering. So Romney really won because just overall he gave a better impression. He looked more confident, as you say, looked a bit more presidential, looked a lot better prepared for the debate than Obama did.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because there was one point, they love doing this because it's, it's a technique that you always bring it down to one person because everyone understands one person. I met this guy at the service station or something like that. And when the challenger does it, it works. When the incumbent does it, it doesn't always. And I thought when Obama talked about the teacher he met in Vegas, who has 42 kids in the class, and she's using books that are 10 years old, I just sat there thinking, yeah, and you're the president, so why is her book 10 years old, and why does she have 42 kids in the class?
That's right. It is a lot harder for the president to get a lot of mileage out of these kinds of stories of heartbreak because it's kind of been his responsibility for the last 4 years. His vice president, Joe Biden, made probably a mistake a few days ago saying that the middle class has been buried for the last 4 years.
And who buried them?
That's right. The Republicans immediately pick up on that. I mean, it is still the case, according to polling, that more Americans blame George W. Bush for the economy than blame Barack Obama. But that only gets Obama so far. They do at least see part of it as his responsibility.
All right, polls in terms of who's going to be the next president have probably Obama about 3 points ahead, which actually is a victory this far out. Is this very good performance from Romney going to make any difference at all?
It will make a bit of a difference. The major difference it will make is it will keep his donors interested in the Republican Party, because
so the money will still keep coming out.
There was a serious danger that they might have started withdrawing their money to more competitive House and Senate races. I think that will be the main effect. He will still have ground to make up in the polls. He's got 2 more debates to do that. Those won't be watched as much, and those could actually be moments for Obama to get a bit of ground back.
Fantastic. He'll be needing to. David, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Dr. David Smith, who I hope we can talk to again after the next one.
And I think the one thing the debate yesterday also did, it puts both of them on a stage together so people can actually see him and think, oh, maybe he could do as good a job as Obama. But coming up next, the car industry, it's under fire. We'll discuss the future for Australia next.
It would be brilliant if we could talk to you.
I'd like to look good.